Hello, and welcome to another installation of Dairy Barn inside the exhibition. I'm your host, Peyton Ann Hodge, and today I am joined by Tina Kelsey, an artist who is featured in the Fibers of Appalachia Exhibition. Tina, go ahead and tell our listeners a bit about yourself and your background.
I grew up in Cambridge, Ohio, which is not too far from here. I lived on the West Coast for a little while and I settled in Athens 40 years ago, just because it's such a welcoming place for artists and people who want to create their own thing.
Great way to describe Athens. So how did you get involved with the Dairy Barn?
Well, I actually worked here back in the 90s, and then I took a break from art and taught school for a while. And then I went back to being a full-time artist. And I was president of the Athens Art Guild and traveled all over the country selling. I made one-of-a-kind tiaras, which is kind of a crazy thing, but it worked and I loved it. So I've always supported the Dairy Barn and the artists here. Now that I'm retired and I have plenty of time, I am able to get more involved in the Dairy Barn by entering some of my work in it. And most of the work now is fiber work. I sew.
Okay. And then can you give our listeners a bit of an explanation about what fiber art specifically is?
Fiber art has to do with anything that is created by fibers. So threads, plants, it's mostly natural sort of stuff. Yeah. So I just happen to sew. I also embroider.
Gotcha. So how did you personally get started in that? Like, what's your arts education background?
I didn't have a formal arts education. I grew up in a house where women created beauty for their house. And when we sat down, there was always something in our laps. So my grandmother embroidered and she made quilts. Her mother made quilts and embroidered. I believe, I was trying to figure it out this morning, I believe I'm the sixth generation of women that I'm aware of. One of my, it would be my great grandmother came to Ohio from Pennsylvania in a covered wagon. And I think about her a lot because she had a baby on the way.
Oh my.
I know. So I don't have any of her work. But as we know, women at that time, they had to make quilts. There wasn't anywhere to go buy blankets. So they saved every little scrap and they made what they could and they tried to make their homes just as beautiful as possible, which resulted in I have generational pieces of beauty that they didn't use them. So they created these beautiful things that took them hours and hours and they didn't use them. So I have stacks of quilts, stacks of doilies that are embroidered, which I utilize some of them in some of my work sometimes. But they are always in the back of my mind when I create things. I think sometimes how my grandmother would get such a kick out of what I do, especially the tiara making. But just recently, my mother, who's in assisted living now, and was never very free with compliments, she said, your grandmother would be so proud of the work that you do. It was just something that we always did. It was busy work. And I really didn't start working really hard on embroidering until the pandemic. And then I stitched like my life depended upon it. It was something I could only do on downtime. And I really didn't have a lot of downtime. But sewing, I have always sewn. It was something that Grandma gave us when we were little to keep us occupied. And then when I was in high school, I was very tall and very thin, and clothes did not fit. So I had to make my own clothes. I'm not a really good sewer. I'm brave. I'm very brave. I try lots of new things. Lately, I've been creating, repurposing things like men's shirts. I'll cut them off and put a skirt on them. I also work for Passion Works Studio here in Athens.
So we love Passion Works here at the Dairy Barn.
Yes. And I do all their sewing.
Oh, Oh,
So I started out making aprons, and I made thousands of aprons. I don't ever want to make another apron again. But now I make, dog coats, because my dogs, I always, I make their coats and everyone liked them. So I make dog coats, purses, bags, mostly accessories, but some, and then I repurpose clothing. So that's been an easy thing to do because my hands are stiff and they're old lady hands. So it's sewing is a little bit easier. I have electric scissors. I'm able to plan interventions for my own self. I did that for years as a teacher, but now I plan interventions for my own self. So sewing is something I can do. Like I sit down, it's easier on my body. So I've been really embracing sewing, and I just love it. I just love going in there and making something beautiful.
yeah. I love that.
My sewing and embroidery, my handwork, fiber work, was something I did as a treat for my own self. So it wasn't until I retired kind of recently and made my life a little bit easier. I had time to really think about it. And I think it takes a lot of courage to put your stuff out there. So had I not taken my things all over the country selling them, I would never have had the courage, because I was encouraging some of my friends to enter the show. And they said they just couldn't do it, that they didn't think their work was good enough, blah, blah, blah. But it had to do with confidence and courage. And I realized that I gained all that from sitting in front of tens of thousands of people every weekend. And that comes with age and experience. This particular show, they wanted things that were rooted in our Appalachian culture, but maybe with our own spin on it. So I always loved the yo-yo quilt. It's a circle. I adore circles. I work almost exclusively in circles now. But I didn't want to make a quilt because I sleep with dogs. And those quilts they're sort of fragile in the way that they're made, and that they're all hooked together with stitches. So it wasn't practical for me to make a quilt. And then I thought about covering a dress with yo-yos. And I was sick one winter, or maybe I was sitting with my mom when she was sick, and I cut out, I am not good at math. And I thought it would take me 900 yo-yos. It did not, thank goodness. But I cut them all out.
Oh my goodness.
And then I had COVID that same spring. And it was my first time, and this was last year. And I was very, very ill. And as I got a little bit better, I could sit and stitch, but I couldn't think of things. So I was like, I have all those circles. I can make yo-yos. And I sat days and days and weeks and made yo-yos. And then I'm part of a woman's sewing group. It's underground. Don't ask me. Don't call me and ask to join, because you can't.
I think I know what you're talking about. I've heard about you guys.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Anyway, that was an excuse to sit and put my yo-yos together, to put the yo-yos together and to then hang it on the dress. I originally thought I could just float it over the dress, but they're heavy, so they kind of hang. So I had to tack it. It was a lot more work than I thought it would be. It took a lot, but I love it. It's really joyful, and it's just what I wanted it to be. I love when that turns out.
Yes, I'm looking at it, guys, and it is very, very fun. It's beautiful. So you guys will have to come check out the Fibers of Appalachia exhibition to see Tina's dress. All right. So you talked about encouraging friends to put pieces in exhibitions. What's your biggest advice for someone who is just starting out in this fiber creation world? And what would you say to them to encourage them to keep going?
So what I say is, if you love it, and this is sort of Passionworks' goal as well, if you have the passion, then the rest will come. Patty Mitchell, who runs Passionworks Studio, she told me that years ago when I was concerned about quitting my job and becoming an artist. And she said, if you have that much passion for to what you do, the money will come. And she was right. She was right. I just had to swallow everything I had been telling myself in my head. You know, you compare yourself to other people, of course, but nobody does what I do. You know, that's the reality, is that no one does what I do. So I just have to be really bold and very brave and believe in my own self. It's nice to have input from other people that you respect, which we're lucky. We live in a town where there's so many creatives in this town. It's so easy to reach out to one another and just to be strong and competent and brave, you know, and especially as women, we have to be willing to take more risks than we're comfortable with.
Most definitely.
Yes. And that wasn't an easy thing for me. I'm 69 years old. And I think right now, I would say in the last 10, 15 years, I have become way more confident than I ever was. I wasn't confident about my work. I kind of squirreled it away and didn't really show it to people, or I made presents for people, but I didn't see it every day because I didn't want to see it every day. You know, it's just hard. And I think that once I started creating things and people reached out, you know, I think we all suffer from that imposter syndrome, that someone's going to find out that I have no arts education, that I'm winging things all the time. And that, here's the secret, when I entered the show, the dress was not done. So I just pinned it all together and had some photographs taken by my friend so that you can see the pins. Because when I posted online that I got into the show, my sister said, "Oh, you finished the dress." I said, "Nope." But I was confident in my work. Even if I pinned it, it looks good. It'll be finished by the show. It's not going to look any different. And I've been single for most of my life. So it's just me and those little voices in my head all the time, you know?
The many artists in your head.
Yes. So, getting together with my friends, aside from my weekly sewing group, I also started when I moved to town, I used to live out in the middle I had 20 acres out in the middle of nowhere, which I loved until I didn't. But when I moved to town, I didn't get to see my friends as often as I thought, I'll move to town, I'll see people all the time. No. So I have monthly dinner parties for women at my house because it's tiny. It'll hold 12 people if we all squeeze in. And that's just been such a great thing because I know people I've had so many different careers and jobs and friends from all of those. So I try to mix it all up, people that don't really know each other very well. And part of it is to help my friends also reach out to all these people, these women, and we learn from each other. We have fun with each other. We've made really good friends. And I just think that's really important that we support one another. Women have a hard time standing up for themselves and putting their stuff out there. To me, just getting together with other women has just been huge. It's just been crucial to what I've been able to do lately.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Thanks.
Is there any sort of other art that you haven't dabbled in that maybe you think in the future you'd like to try?
Oh, gosh, that's a really good question. Well, I have been really enamored of crochet. And I thought, because my fingers get really, really stiff, and I thought, well, maybe that would be a little bit better. It's not at all because you're still holding on to something. But what I like about crochet is that you can make it as wild as you want. You don't have to have a set pattern in your head. And that's what I'm really enamored of. I worked all winter on the same piece. It was someone had donated they were crocheting strips of fabric. That's what kind of I liked about it. And of course, it was an oval. And I had to learn how to keep my stitches the same and how to make it go around the bend. And I bet I tore that thing apart 30 times. And that was okay. That was the way I learned. And now my stitches are consistent. I'm ready to do something. But yes, crochet is something that I really want to start. Two of the other women in my sewing group, we say sewing, but we just do any kind of fiber work.
Right.
And they are really helpful and really good at encouraging me. And I see their work and I love it. It just intrigues me. All those little tiny stitches. My friend Celia, she uses just thread and makes these teeny tiny, oh my gosh, and I love tiny things. I don't know why. I love a tiny thing. So yeah, I will. I'm working on it.
Expand your repertoire, your already large repertoire.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I've been buying afghans at thrift stores to turn into coats. And I just realized I have enough to make a coat.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited about that. It could happen.
All right. Is there anything else that you want our listeners to know about you, your work, or the Fibers of Appalachia show?
I think I've talked a lot about my own self, but I really love the show. I love the whole point of people carrying on the work that our ancestors have done. I just love that. And Appalachia in particular, because our people, they really kept everything going. They had the babies, they had to cook. And I'm so connected to that. And I think a lot of people from Appalachia go through the same thing. We have ancestors who did these things before us. And what would they think of the work that we're doing now? Because I don't do traditional work at all. But it's still there. The stitches are the same. The roots, the colors. There's something about the sound of a needle going through taut fabric. I watch embroidery videos before I go to bed because it so relaxes me, that sound of the needle going through. It just is everything. So, and the Dairy Barn has always been such a great venue for encouraging artists. And the fact that locals are just as welcome as people from Japan, it's a great place.
Most definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Tina, and giving a little bit of insight on your work as well as Fibers of Appalachia. I appreciate talking with you.
It's really nice to meet you, and I'm really happy for this opportunity.
Yes, I'm excited for our listeners to get to know you.
Thanks.
That's all we have for today's episode. Be sure to check out our next ones where we'll sit down with other artists and visit the Dairy Barn to see Tina and other artists' work in the Fibers of Appalachia Exhibition, which is currently on view until August 30th. You can find more information on the Dairy Barn and other exhibitions at dairybarn.org. I'm your host, Peyton Ann Hodge, and this has been Dairy Barn Inside the Exhibition. Thank you for listening.